What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO stock, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about the overall market and what big news is going to be coming out for tomorrow that will move the markets, and why tomorrow is going to be a very big day for NIO and the entire stock market. I'm also going to talk about SPY, Tesla, and the QQQ on top of NIO and break down what the technicals are suggesting. But before I do anything like this, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends today, so check it out before they run out. There are only about 17 hours left. But anyways, let's talk about the market now, what's going on with it. So the market ended up getting this massive gap down and a bit of a drop as time went on, at least for most stocks out there. And we continued to drop because of some bearish news. The Fitch rating ended up dropping for the USA. Basically, this is like a credit score. So for other countries out there that want to make investments in the USA or invest in, governmental bonds, if they want to buy them, they basically need to be paid back for interest and etc. Now, when things are made like this, or if the US is going to be taking on investments like this, the problem is, how are they going to get their interest on that? And the answer is they have to depend on the USA. And in order to do this, when it comes to depending on the US businesses, the US government, and etc., we have a rating that's going to be used for these different companies. It's kind of like a credit score, right? If a person has a high credit score, they're more likely to make their payments, they're more likely to do a lot more of a better job. If we have a bad credit score, then things are going to be not as secure for other investments. So the reason why this is important is we had a AAA rating, which got downgraded to a AA plus rating. So it went down a little bit. And when this came out, this caused the market to slow down. And it's very important that we were prepared for how this could affect the markets. So now that this happened, this is starting to trigger a change in sentiment as the market's starting to break critical support levels. But we do have some data coming out that could also continue to move the markets, right? We have the PMI report and initial jobless claims coming out. These things could add on to more selling pressure for tomorrow, or they may not. This is kind of hard to predict. But what I will say is that we have another major catalyst that's going to make tomorrow even bigger. And the answer is the market could try to hold up tomorrow, okay? But then we're going to be approaching Amazon and Apple's earnings reports. And if Apple ends up getting a rug pull, the entire market is going to tank, especially on Friday. And this could drag down a lot of tech stocks, a lot of consumer discretionaries, and the entire market collectively. But if the opposite happens, if Apple ends up doing relatively well, this could help the market bounce. But looking at the technicals, things are not looking that good for the markets. I will break them down in just a couple of minutes. Now, when it comes to NIO, I'm just looking at the news, and I'm mainly seeing some good news coming out about how NIO absolutely killed it with a new delivery record. At some points today, NIO also turned green. I mean, NIO is still outperforming the market, holding up a lot nicer. And I still believe the stock has so much potential as it's continuing to break records and meet expectations. NIO's volume was 79 million, above average volume, not bad for them, but it was mixed between buying and selling, so it wasn't too one-sided like other days have been. And UBS is still neutral on NIO alongside JP Morgan. The price-price ratio is still relatively high, showing NIO is outperforming the market still. And on top of this, we tend to be not the strongest on Thursdays. We're only green about 50% of the time, so it's 50-50 on Thursdays. And to add on to this, the short interest on NIO has gone up. We're seeing about 26 million of the NIO shares shorted just a few days ago. Lots of shorts are continuing to pile in. So now let's break down tomorrow. Why is tomorrow going to be a big day for NIO? Here's the answer, okay? On NIO, you're going to be watching these specific levels very carefully. Now, right now, NIO is currently trying to test this resistance right over here. And if we actually bring up a Fibonacci retracement, for example, we actually look at it like this, we could see NIO is still at this very, very interesting level, at this 14 area. And it actually came very close to our 0.382 retracement level. So right about here. So I'm going to be watching these levels right about here, especially 14.12 and 14 flat as major support. And below that, we're going to be looking at the low of the day as our other support. But I just want to call out something important. The structure from a technical standpoint on NIO is looking a little bit more bullish. That is developed here. We have a potential bullish triangle. We also have a possible, could this be an inverse head and shoulders forming? There's a possibility it is one. Maybe on the 15-minute time frame, it looks a little bit better. But you could see there's a possible inverse head and shoulders. There's a chance NIO could get a bounce tomorrow. But just to be safe, I'm not going to solely depend on technicals because you never know what's going to happen with Apple's earnings, and things could go south real quick. But here's my view. I think NIO could try to hold this range. We may see a low of like 4.4 and a high of about the 15 area. We may see a very sideways day in a NIO's attempt to hold above the 15-minute 200 EMA. I think NIO is going to get a very pretty much like range-bound day, kind of like today, except it's going to try to hold up. It may gap down tomorrow morning or the lower 14s, then bounce back into the 14s and continue to trade sideways. I think SPY could do the same thing, trying to base at this 450 area. It did break below it temporarily at the end of the day, and we should see a continuation of this. Lots of sideways price action, maybe a little bit more downside. I'm seeing the same thing for tomorrow, and it just range trading around 450. And then for the triple Q, okay, I see the same thing going on. Lots of like sideways price action, a retest of 373. Then once again, it continuing to trade around there. And I want to also add that for Tesla, it could also try to range trade around 250 for tomorrow. But here's the catch. When you zoom out of the charts, right, that was just for tomorrow specifically. Tesla also broke below the 4-hour 200 EMA. So even if we do get a sideways day tomorrow, it's going to be heavily dictated by this right here, Apple's earnings after the market closes. And if Apple causes a big rug pull, we could see more downside. We could see Tesla break into the 240s, and we could even see later on this head and shoulders continue to play out for SPY. Maybe SPY tries to base a little tomorrow, but then after that, we could see a lot more downside. And 446 is my target for this gap fill, if not lower levels than that, which I think will eventually come either later this week, if not going into next week. But the triple Q, I see the same thing. This thing is going to likely sink even lower into like the 368 area over the next couple of days, even if we do get a sideways day for tomorrow, right? And part of the reason why I'm saying that is because the dollar is pumping. Looking at the 10-year treasury yield, this thing is going up as well. These are all slowing the market down. Last but not least for NIO, what do I see for it? Well, I hate to say this, everyone, but even though NIO has been holding up nicely, it's trying to outperform the market, it has relative strength. It's going to try to hold up, but it is starting to downtrend a little bit. So regardless of the inverse head and shoulders pattern that could be forming, if the market starts sinking harder because of Apple's earnings, this could actually drag NIO down, unfortunately. And we could see NIO make its way all the way back into like the lower 14s, if not the 13.33 area. I know it's not what you want to hear, but I think here's the thing about NIO. It's still going to try to hold up. It's going to outperform the market, not drop as hard. But when the whole market sinks, there's not a whole lot NIO could do. There's not a whole lot many of these different sectors could do about it. For example, when there was like a virus that came out and the whole market sank, most stocks ended up just sinking regardless of what their earnings were looking like. And it's not always a company's fault that things like this could happen because of like macro factors and also because of how the market is being impacted by the larger funds and etc. So this tends to have a very big ripple effect on other stocks like NIO. And unfortunately, NIO will be impacted by this. So this means if the market sells off more starting on like Thursday after the market closes because of Apple's earnings, or by like Friday or next week if there's more selling, this could drag NIO down into the 13 area. Notice how the market gapped down and NIO also gapped down in the morning. So there's a big connection right over here you can quite clearly see. And eventually this could lead to downside. Maybe tomorrow NIO has a sideways day, of course, but then later on down the line, the next few days, we could see the 13.33 area being tested, if not lower levels than that. All right, so I just want to be honest with everyone. That is what the charts are suggesting. Make sure you are prepared for this and be prepared for more volatility very soon. Until I see you guys again, thank you for listening. NIO to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.